You can see the mask. We're still in the grips of the Covid-19 pandemic. And I am Straight Shootin LJA. You may remember me from such podcasts as Pitch Talk, from such videos as Pitch Talk Meets and Pitch Talk on the Road. And you may also remember one major fact. Now, look at that. Looks good, don't it? Liverpool's Premier League champions. That's what's happened since we last did a Pitch Talk vlog. It's been that long. What is up, people? Welcome to the Straight Shootin View. Welcome back to it. Pitch Talk is back and in a big time way. We got more of us now, but shout outs to the G-Man, Jezzy Fizzle, Nath Arsenal, and also JBK as well. Pitch Talk is back and bigger than ever. But more on that another time. But as I said, welcome back to the Straight Shootin View. And you know what? I want to kick this back off with the Premier League and FIFA. Now, it's recently been announced that due to Covid-19 and the coronavirus, that pandemic that is still going on now, of course, football stands to lose about £11 billion. All told, 11 billion. Now, I don't know about you, but that's quite big money to me. To me, anyway. But my thing is this. Apparently, that 11 billion is actually out of, I think, 36 billion worth of losses. So 11 of that is being blamed on COVID-19 and this pandemic. And that's without FIFA even factoring in the Champions League. So that's major money. But also you got the Premier League saying that COVID-19 has cost them 700 million pounds so far. And this is what, mid-September of 2020. So there's concern all around. And a lot of fans and fan groups are concerned about football continuing to be played behind closed doors. Now, the new Premier League season is only a week old. So it's a case of a lot of, obviously there's the potential now of a second lockdown in the UK. And there have been trials going on recently, and especially even this weekend, in regards to letting fans into grounds. Now, there's a few sides there's I think 8 matches in the EFL where they're going to trial having home fans but no away fans, and it's going to be capped at a maximum of 1,000. So, interestingly enough, it's interesting to see that happening, especially when in the last week, as I said, this is mid-September, in the last week it's been mentioned the potential of a second lockdown. So obviously that's going to throw a cat amongst the pigeons, and in theory, in my view, that means these trials should be stopped, because limits of how many people can congregate together has gone from 30 right back down to 6. So, but team sports and workplaces are exempt. So for team sports to be exempt, it kind of sends a strange message. Another mixed one from this government. But if you want me criticising the Conservative government, which I do, and I'm happy to, see the Straight Shootin rants on my Instagram page, Liam_LJA_Angel with 2 L's. Go there for that, for the political stuff. But this is football. But anyway, it's one of them where you got to look at kind of the real deal here. And as much as fans are a part of football, money's even more of a part of it. So these clubs, you've got to look at it realistically. These clubs ain't charities, and the Premier League as an entity is definitely not a charity. And as much as FIFA says it's not for profit, clearly is. Clearly is. But also as well, it's a case of, it was said when FIFA revealed that 11 billion was going to be lost from the game, and yes, they do have grants of 1 to 2 million quid that associations can apply for. So I'm not completely demonising them, as I have in the past, and as I will continue to do on a general basis. But the fact is there, I found it interesting that in the article that I was mentioned in, it was about halfway down the article where they said, oh, we've got accountants looking into this, and corruption shouldn't be in the game. And it's like, oh, corruption shouldn't, we're hoping that corruption won't account for any of this money. And I'm thinking to myself, if you have to say that, you have to explicitly say that you're hoping corruption won't account for any of the money, then that means you buggered up already. Because at the end of the day, that means corruption clearly does count, at least for something. And we know that FIFA and corruption go like a hand into a custom-made glove. I will say that much. And I'm out and about recording this, so apologies for the lighting changes. But it is one of them where it's like, I said, the Premier League, FIFA, these are not benevolent entities. These entities are here to make money. Look at the TV deals. Look at the way they're structured. They're not here to make money. So they're not here to give away money. They're here to make it and make a lot of it. So it is one of them ones where when it comes to fan groups and that kind of thing, saying, well, we're not getting to come to games anymore. It's a case of, the Premier League and the EFL and others are looking at it like, well, tough titty said the kitty. Now, the EFL is a little different, purely on the basis that they need, especially for the survival of smaller clubs, they need to get fans back through the turnstiles again. They need it. So the bigger clubs obviously don't. But the fact is, for me, it's one of them where it's like, the game's not run on love alone, and I know that. Being involved with the Ibis Eagles, shout out to them, as a ref secretary at grassroots level, amateur league to be exact. I know that a club is not run on love alone. You need memberships coming in, you need money coming in. So you can't be completely benevolent or as benevolent as you want to. But the fact is, these Premier League clubs are cash cows and have been for a long time. For a number of owners for a long time. So you've only got to really look at some of these clubs and think, oh, okay. So you're whinging about losing this much money, but you've spent 200-300 million on about 4 players. Okay, yeah, and you don't want financial fair play in because? Anyway, but you look at the furlough scheme. If you want any more indication that football's about money, look at the furlough scheme. And how many clubs went in for it and then were like, oh crap, yeah, this doesn't look good PR-wise, and then they pulled back out of it. But then you look at also certain clubs, like say Burnley, who live within their means, clearly. They were like, well, we need this to actually survive. And it's like, okay, fair play. You're a smaller club who needs it. But the big clubs, like your Liverpools, Tottenhams, Arsenals, among others, it's like, it's a bit of mockage to actually do it, which is why most of those clubs ended up pulling out. So, as I said, it is one of them was, it is a slap in the face to the fans, because these clubs are always saying that fans are the lifeblood of the game. What's it, FIFA, uefa, RFA are always saying fans are at the lifeblood of the game, and then it's like, well, we can afford to have you not there anymore. And football is a global game, no doubt. And money through the turnstiles for those big 20 clubs in the Premier League, money through the turnstiles is not overly important. It's important, don't get me wrong, but it's not overly. So it's a bit of you got to take certain things with a grain of salt. Where you got to look at certain things and think, well, maybe it isn't what it seems. But I look at it as, with money in football has always been a contentious issue. It very much has been. But the way certain companies during this Covid-19 crisis, and I put the Premier League in there, have prioritized money over safety. Because at the end of the day, I still say, and I said it on one of my Straight Shootin rants, my other vlog, where it was a case of the Premier League returning? Is it money over safety? And I still believe that it was, because the amount of money tied up in television deals alone. You look at what it's like, a £5 billion deal plus 4.45, and then obviously there was what Amazon paid on top, which was never really revealed. So you've got all that money, and it would have costed the Premier League to just cancel the season. It would have cost them about 1.25 billion, as opposed to the games being played behind closed doors, and it only cost him 300 million. So you're looking at them, and it's like, if I'm running a business, or I'm a businessman of any sort, I know that I'd rather lose 300 million than lose 1.25 billion. Much rather. So you look at those kind of numbers there and those kind of figures, you realize why the Premier League season had to continue, and it was always going to continue. It was never going to be null and voided. Also, as well, people say, oh, it should be null and voided, this and that, weren't looking at that bigger picture of the money behind. And also, then you get legal challenges. Like I said on my other vlog, it's a case of, you had Aston Villa, who, if the season was null and voided, Aston Villa would have had a legal challenge, because points per game, it would have left them playing a game less. So they would have gotten relegated playing a game less than everyone else, which, legally, boom, done. No, it's not happening. So, oh my God. So it's on them. But the fact of the matter is, I still think that football should have been halted until this coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic has passed, or at least has safely passed enough to let fans in. But the money in the game, the money tied up in the game, would never ever let that be the case. So it's just a funny one. And I've said for a long time that the top levels of the game are based on greed. Pure and simple. So in conclusion, it is one of them where football needs to run its finances better, and this is one thing that the COVID-19 pandemic, I think, has shown, because again, with the potential cancelling of the Premier League, there were a lot of it was revealed, I think it was the Athletic.com who revealed that certain clubs' finances were woeful. Like clubs like, say, Chelsea, I think it was Chelsea and Everton were the two clubs in the league with the worst finances in the league. And Chelsea have gone out and spent 250 whatever million quid on a handful of players. So it's like, okay, where's that money coming from? Apparently they're using an accounting trick to get around it. But there's also a lot of clubs who spread the cost of payments. Look at Barcelona and Felipe Coutinho. I laugh because of the shirt I'm wearing. Once again, there we go. By the way, shout out to Thiago and Diego Jota. Thiago Alcantara and Diego Jota. Shout outs to them. But it's one of them where I just look at it as, yeah, it was revealed that a lot of clubs actually owe each other money. And that's where stuff gets interesting as well, because at the end of the day, if your whole ecosystem is based on switching debt and moving money around, then it's not really a sound system. It's not a safe system. And something like stopping the game for a couple of months, it could have seen the whole house of cards just collapse. And we're seeing now with certain clubs on the brink of collapse, who were on the brink of collapse before, it's even worse. Like Macclesfield, most recently, like literally within the past couple of days, we've seen Macclesfield wound up with, there's the Bolton Wanderers thing as well. So there's a lot of clubs who were already on the brink of financial ruin. And it's a damn shame. It really is a damn shame. And it doesn't need to be that way. But it's one of them where football is very much, as a game, living above its means. And I'm hoping that clubs come out of this COVID pandemic and see the light, and start running their clubs better financially. Arsenal have always been held up as a great example of that. But recently with, Stan Kroenke finally getting full control of that club and Kroenke taking on Arsenal's debts, it's like, ooh, risky move. Because now you owe him. So you'd hope that they tighten up the fit and proper persons test to make sure if an owner comes into a club, they can actually afford to sustain it. And that their long-term plan is to make the club sustainable rather than relying on false finances, for lack of a better term. But you know what, yeah? I'm going to let you guys go for now. God, it's good to be back, bud. It's good to be back. And yeah, look at that once again. Yes. I have to show that off. But the fact is, yeah, it is great to be back vlogging. And you know what? Remember, facebook.com/pitch talk. Find the page, find the group as well. facebook.com/groups/pitch talk group is the group. God, yeah, man. At Pitch Talk on Twitter, at Pitch Talk on Instagram as well. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And also youtube.com/Pitch Talk as well. Find our videos, find our vlogs. As said, we got new vloggers involved as well. Pitch Talk is back, bigger than ever. I have been Straight Shootin LJA. And this has been the Straight Shootin View. It's good to be back, folks. Hey.